Welcome, everyone. It's your boy LF Jake. Today we're doing something a little bit different. Today we're going to be using an AI chat called ChatGPT, and it's going to generate a story that me, and you guys, and Stream Chat, we're going to be the main character. But not the narrator. All the narration will be completely AI generated. It's going to be the D&D universe, because I love that universe. I love everything about it. I was going to try and do a solo D&D playthrough using AI. Shout out to Table Ready, the YouTube channel. I saw them do this and I thought it looked amazing. Couldn't quite get it working myself. I'm a little bit too stupid to get it done myself. But while messing around, I just thought it was really cool. I thought the story making element was really cool. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to live through a little story. I'm going to put my character in. If anyone's in the chat and they want to have their own character in, we'll find a way to sort of integrate them into the story. And maybe it'll be a really cool story. Maybe the AI will be too janky and it won't make any sense. But I'm down to give it a go. On the side of my screen here, on the right hand side of my screen, we're going to try and keep some consistencies. We're going to have a list of details that's mentioned in the story that we're going to try and keep consistent. Because the AI generator will forget. They'll be like, Kolo Drakeway, the name of our main character here, is a half-elf fighter. But then, midway through telling the story, they'll turn me into a human. Or they'll turn me into a dwarf. Or they'll be like, Kolo used a spell to clear the way. It's like, no. No spells, we're not a spellcaster. So this is just to keep consistencies. Also, again, I was riffing through it, trying different ideas, messing around with the AI. I did a little story by myself. We did a quest. We got 1,500 gold for doing the quest. And then, literally in the next paragraph, the story was like, so you have 50,000 gold pieces from that last quest. It's like, no. So whatever the story gives us, we'll note it down here on the top right. We're going to have every character that we meet, what race they are, what... we could do occupation and class, as if they're a D&D character, and the possessions that they have. If the story tells Kolo that he's got a sword and a bow, and then in the next cutscene, he pulls out an axe and a wizard staff, then, we'll mark down in the notes that he's got a sword and a bow. And we'll be like, no. Kolo doesn't have a staff. Things like that, to keep the consistency of the story going. Let's start by asking, I've asked a bunch of different questions to get this started. Usually it's, okay. Can you roleplay? Can you roleplay with me? Can you roleplay with me? That's all we'll ask. Can you roleplay with me? They'll ask a follow-up question, and then we'll go from there. Of course, I'd be happy to roleplay with you. What kind of roleplay would you like to do? I would like... Now, this is the cool thing about this AI. The more in-depth and detailed I give a paragraph, the better the AI will perceive it. I would like you to play the NPCs and the world while I play as my... I would like to roleplay a 5e Dungeons and Dragons. I would like to roleplay 5e Dungeons and Dragons. I would like to roleplay. I want you to control the NPCs and the world while I play as my half elf fighter named Colo Drakeway. A simple town's guard turned mercenary looking for adventure. Now, I'd noted this down on my phone. Hold on. There's a few rules that I want to like quickly dart in there. If I speak to you outside of the role play, I will use brackets like these. That way I can use a square bracket every time it's like, wait, what are we doing? Wait, who is this person? Wait, how much gold did I make from that last quest? I also need to say, do not try and end the story at any time. This means continuing the role play until I tell you that it is over. Basically, I'm saying that because the chatbot, the AI, likes to automatically tie up the story all the time. Like, they'll give you a massive paragraph and they'll be like, and Colo lived happily ever after, dreaming of his next adventures in a town far away. And you're like, no, we're not ending right now. Keep on going. And just like that, the story begins. You find yourself in a bustling marketplace in the heart of a large city. The sound of merchants haggling, musicians playing, and children laughing fills the air. As you make your way through the crowds, you overhear a group of travelers talking about a nearby dungeon filled with treasures and dangerous monsters. They mention they're looking for someone to join their party and help them explore the dungeon. What do? Let's test this now. We'll use a square bracket. What is the name of the city we are in? And let's see if that works. Ha! The city you are in is called Eldred. Love that. See, we can ask the story little questions about the story just to keep us all glued up. After overhearing the group of travellers, Colo can't help but notice that they are looking for another member to join them. With this in mind, Colo approaches. My name is Colo. I'm a mercenary looking for work. I couldn't help but hear that you are on the way to a dangerous dungeon. Well, it just so happens that I myself am well practiced with a blade, and for the right price I can help you. I can help escort you all to your treasure unharmed. What do you say? The travellers turn to look at you, sizing you up with a quick glance. One of them, a dwarven cleric with a bushy red beard, steps forward and speaks up. Well met, Colo. I am Durin, and these are my companions. He gestures to the rest of the group, which consists of a human rogue, an elven wizard, and a halfling bard. Durin listens to your proposal, stroking his beard thoughtfully. We could certainly use another sword arm with us, he says, but the dungeon we're heading to is not for the faint of heart. We'll pay you well, but be warned. The danger is real. Are you sure you're up to the task? Kolo weighs his options before replying. I must admit, I'll not be able to carry you all at once, but if you can handle your own backs, I'll take care of the rest. Does that make sense? I don't know. Let's just see what they say. Durin nods in agreement. That's fair enough. We're not looking for someone to carry us, just to fight by our side. If you're willing to do that, then you're more than welcome to join us. He then turns to the rest of the group and says, well, it looks like we have a new companion. Let's get going before the dungeon gets any more crowded. The group begins to make their way out of the marketplace and towards the outskirts of the city. As you follow them, Durin explains that the dungeon they're heading to is an old dwarven stronghold that was abandoned centuries ago. It's rumoured to be filled with treasure and artifacts from the ancient dwarven civilization, but it's also overrun with dangerous creatures like goblins, kobolds, and even more powerful monsters like trolls and ogres. As you approach the entrance to the dungeon, Durin turns to you and says, are you ready, Kolo? This is where the real adventure begins. Kolo nods. But before entering, he asks, before we all risk our lives fighting for one another, it would be nice to know everyone's name. Durin, maybe you could introduce me to everyone. Durin nods and turns to the rest of the group. Alright everyone, let's do a quick introduction. This is Kolo, our new companion. Kolo, this is Erevan, he says, pointing to the elven wizard. She's our resident magic expert. Next is Arin, our sneaky rogue. He points to the human woman, who gives you a quick nod. And last but not least is Glim, our resident bard. He gestures at the halfling, who gives you a friendly wave. Alright, now that we're all acquainted, let's get going. Durin says as he leads the way into the dungeon. The entrance is dark and musty, and the air is filled with the scent of old stone and damp earth. As you follow the group deeper into the dungeon, you can hear a faint sound of skittering and snarling coming from the shadows ahead. The adventure has truly begun. Kolo follows the group into the dungeon with his trusted longsword in hand and short bow strapped to his back. He is prepared for whatever troubles may come. As you move further into the dungeon, you encounter a small group of goblins guarding a doorway. They spot your group and let out a series of high-pitched screams before attacking you. Durin and Arin quickly move in to engage the goblins in melee combat, while Erevan uses her magic to hurl firebolts at them from a safe distance. Glim provides support by inspiring the group with a rousing song, which boosts everyone's morale and fighting abilities. As the battle rages on, Kolo spots a goblin sneaking up behind Erevan. He quickly reacts and charges at the goblin, cutting it down before it can attack. The rest of the goblins are quickly dispatched, thanks to the combined efforts of the group. After the battle, Durin looks over at Kolo and nods approvingly. Nice work, Kolo. You're a valuable addition to the team. As you continue exploring the dungeon, you encounter more dangerous creatures and traps, but with your skills and the group's teamwork, you're able to overcome each obstacle. Eventually, you reach the heart of the dungeon and discover a trove of ancient dwarven artifacts and treasures. The group cheers in excitement, knowing that their long and dangerous journey has been worth it. Durin turns to you and says, well, Kolo, it looks like we did it. We couldn't have done it without you. We'll make sure you get your fair share of the treasure, and who knows, maybe we'll go on another adventure together someday. Kolo nods to the team and thanks Durin for the opportunity to join them. For a brief moment, Kolo locks eyes with Erevan, who places a hand on his shoulder and thanks him for saving her during the fight with the goblins. And then I come in by saying, don't mention it. I would have made a lousy member of the team if I had let clumsy goblins get the better of any of you. Kolo says with a hearty laugh. Let's see if Erevan says anything back to this. Erevan smiles warmly at Kolo's comment. Well, we're lucky to have you with us. You certainly proved your worth back there, she says, gesturing towards the remains of the goblin group. The group takes some time to rest and recover, sharing stories and jokes around the campfire as they divide the treasure. Kolo can't help but feel grateful for the opportunity to have joined such a skilled and friendly group of adventurers. As the night wears on, the group bids each other farewell and sets off on their separate ways. Kolo, now richer and more experienced, continues on his journey, eager to see what new adventures and challenges await him in the future. And this is where we'll throw in a little square bracket and say, how many gold pieces did Kolo earn from that last quest? Is that a good enough question? Let's find out. I do feel like sometimes they just randomly generate a number that's really big. As the treasure hasn't been divided yet, it's unclear how many gold pieces Kolo has earned from the quest. However, given the size of the treasure trove, it's likely that Kolo will receive a significant amount of gold, as well as valuable artifacts and other treasures. So it says they set off on their separate ways and we bid each other farewell. But that's not actually true. They're just saying that because the AI is trying to generate a nice wholesome end of the story. Kolo travels back with the group, eagerly anticipating what his share of the treasure may be worth. As the group travels back towards civilization, they divide the treasure amongst themselves. Kolo is pleased to find that he has earned a significant amount of gold, along with a few valuable artifacts and magical items. He thanks the group for their help and for welcoming him to their team. After bidding farewell to the group, Kolo spends some time in the nearby town, resting and resupplying before heading out on his next adventure. With the gold he had earned from the quest, he's able to purchase some better gear and equipment, as well as hiring other mercenaries to join him on his journey. See, this is what I mean when they try and, end the story. As he sets out once more, Kolo is filled with excitement and anticipation, eager to face whatever challenges and dangers lie ahead. He knows that he'll never forget the experiences and friendships he made during his time with the group, and looks forward to more adventures yet to come. Okay. Kolo decides to spend the evening at the local tavern in Eldred. That was the name of the town, right? The city. He sits at his table with his drink, almost mournfully, as he longs to find a group one day as capable and friendly as the ones he met today. A small part of him knows he will never see Durin, Erevan, Arin, and Glim again. It's good to name check them because then the story, the AI likes to bring them back in. And the thought of that brings a sadness to him, but nothing that a drink won't fix. As Kolo sits alone in the tavern, lost in his thoughts, a stranger approaches his table. "Mind if I join you?" the stranger asks, gesturing to the empty chair across from Kolo. Kolo looks up and nods, signaling for the stranger to take a seat. The two exchange introductions, and Kolo learns that the stranger is also a mercenary, looking for work and adventure. As they chat over their drinks, Kolo can't help but feel a spark of excitement at the thought of joining forces with someone new. Before long, the two mercenaries are discussing their plans for the future, talking about the quests and treasures they hope to find. Kolo realizes that he's found a new companion, someone who shares his thirst for adventure and danger. As the night wears on, Kolo and his new companion raise their glasses in a toast to their future exploits, ready to take on whatever challenges lie ahead. Though he'll always cherish the memories of previous companions, Kolo knows that new adventures and new friends await him on the horizon. Okay, so let's give a name. Let's give a name and a background to this new friend mercenary who wants to join us. After a few rounds of drinks, Kolo learns that his new friend is called Thane Bjornsson, a tiefling rogue. A tiefling rogue. We could add some backstory from here. Or we could ask him if he's got a backstory of his own. A tiefling rogue. You know what? Let's just ask and see what happens. So, what made you want to become a mercenary? Kolo asks his newfound friend. Thane takes a long sip from his drink before replying. "I suppose I was always drawn to the thrill of adventure and danger. I grew up in a small village, but I always knew that there was more to life than just tilling fields and milking cows." He takes another sip before continuing. "I had a natural talent for thievery and sneaking around, and before long I found myself getting involved in some less than legal activities. But eventually I realized I could use my skills for a greater purpose, and so I became a mercenary." Kolo nods, impressed by Thane's honesty and bravery. "Well, it seems like we share a similar desire for excitement and riches. Perhaps we could work together on our next quest." Thane grins, raising his glass in agreement. "I like the sound of that. Who knows what kind of treasures we'll uncover when we put our heads together." I love that. As the two of them chat, Kolo realizes that he isn't from this city and doesn't have a place to sleep tonight. So he asks Thane, "Do you live in Eldred?" Thane takes another sip of his drink and shakes his head. "No, I'm just passing through like you, but I know a place where we can both crash for the night, if you're interested." Okay. They picked up what I was hinting towards. Kolo nods, grateful for Thane's offer. "That would be great, thank you. Lead the way." Thane finishes his drink and stands up, motioning for Kolo to follow him. "It's not much, but it beats sleeping on the streets," he says with a smirk. The two of them make their way through the winding streets of Eldred, eventually arriving at a small run-down inn on the outskirts of town. Thane introduces Kolo to the innkeeper, who rents them a room for the night. As Kolo settles into his bed, he can't help but feel grateful for a new friend he's made in Thane, and excited for the adventures that lie ahead. Now this is where we get freaky. Are you guys ready for like the mind games I'm going to throw in the story? Okay. As Kolo, this is going to be crazy. If this works, it's going to be crazy. As Kolo's head rests on the pillow at the inn, one vision fills his mind. fire. His home being razed to the ground by humans. His brother being forced to defend himself. How the hell is it supposed to successfully? His mother being brutalized and left in the streets. Screams from his kin fill his mind. No, fill not. I can't say fill his mind again. Screams from his kin drown out all noise until silence. Kolo awakens. That same nightmare again. I just don't understand it. Kolo mutters to himself. As a half-elf, one side of Kolo's family is human. Yet he always has the same recurring nightmare of humans executing such evil. See if it works. See if it works. As Kolo tries to shake off the nightmare, he notices Thane still sleeping soundly in the other bed. Kolo decides to not disturb his friend, and instead takes a moment to collect himself and focus on his breathing. Eventually, Kolo's mind clears, and he starts to think about the events of the day. He had successfully completed his first quest with Durin, Erevan, Arin, and Glim, and even made a new friend in Thane. Despite the nightmare, Kolo couldn't help but feel grateful for new experiences and opportunities that come his way. Kolo decides to get up and take a walk outside, hoping that some fresh air will help clear his mind even further. As he steps outside, he notices that the sun is just starting to rise, casting a warm glow over the city. The streets are quiet, with only a few early risers going about their business. Kolo takes a deep breath, feeling the cool morning air fill his lungs. He takes a moment to appreciate the beauty of the sunrise and the peacefulness of the early morning. As he walks, he thinks about the adventures that lie ahead, and the new friend he has made. Despite the challenges and uncertainties that come with the life of adventuring, Kolo feels a sense of excitement and purpose that he has never felt before. So, I'm going to try and plant the seed in this story. Kolo has recurring nightmares. His family being killed by humans. I want to try and write it in, if I can at some point, that his family aren't dead. They're all fine. But he keeps getting this vision that humans raise his home to the ground. Kolo steps back inside the inn to see the innkeeper setting up for the day. Could I get some breakfast for me and Thane? Kolo asks. Hopefully. See what it says. The innkeeper nods and greets Kolo with a smile. Of course, my dear. What would you like for breakfast? Kolo thinks for a moment before replying. Some eggs, bacon, toast, and a pot of hot tea for both of us, please. The innkeeper nods again. Excellent choices, dear. I'll have that ready for you in a jiffy. Kolo thanks the innkeeper and takes a seat at the table, waiting for Thane to join him at breakfast. After a short while, reminiscing of yesterday's events. Eventually, Thane rises from his slumber. And joins Kolo at his table. That's all we'll put there for now. Good morning, Kolo. Thane greets with a smile as he takes a seat across from him. What's on the menu for today? Eggs, bacon, toast and hot tea, Kolo replies, gesturing towards the plates of food at the pot of tea that the innkeeper has just brought over. Thane's eyes light up at the sight of the food. Ah, that's just what I needed. Thanks, Kolo. They both duck into their breakfast, enjoying the warm food and soothing tea. After a few moments of silence, Thane speaks up. So, Kolo, what are your plans for today? Any jobs or quests lined up? Kolo takes a sip of his tea. Nothing yet, but I was thinking of heading to the local guild hall to see if there's any available jobs. Care to join me? Kolo waits for Thane's response. We want to try and get the... We're Kolo, not Thane. Let's try and get that dynamic going. Thane nods in agreement and says, sure, sounds like a good plan. We can head to the market and gather supplies and maybe find some work too. I know some people who might need our services. He finishes the breakfast quickly and stands up, ready to go. Shall we go now, or do you want to finish your meal first? Thane asks Kolo. Kolo sets down his cutlery and stands. No. And stands, yeah, all that. No, Thane. I'm ready now. Let's head out. Thane nods in agreement and leads the way out of the inn. The two mercenaries make their way through the busy streets of Eldred, the morning sun warming their faces. They arrive at the bustling market, where vendors are selling all kinds of goods, from fresh produce to handmade crafts. Thane spots a bulletin board with various job postings and heads over to have a look. Ah, here's something that might interest us, Thane says, pointing at a notice. A local merchant needs some hired swords to escort a caravan to a nearby town of Oakhurst. It pays well, too. Kolo reads the notice and nods in agreement. Sounds like a good opportunity. Let's go speak to the merchant and see if we can secure the job. Thane and Kolo make their way to the merchant's shop, where they meet the owner, a portly man by the name of Harold. After a brief negotiation, they agree to escort the caravan to Oakhurst and are given details on the job. Feeling satisfied with their work for the day, Kolo and Thane decide to celebrate with a drink at the local tavern before getting some rest for their upcoming journey. Kolo asks Thane, do you know how far... Oh, didn't put any speech marks in there. Do you know how far away Oakhurst is to travel? Will we need to buy some rations and water? Thane nods. Yes. Oakhurst is a couple of days' travel from here. We'll need to stock up on supplies for the journey. I suggest we visit the market before we set out. The two of them make their way to the market, where they purchase enough food and water to last them for the journey. Kolo also decides to buy a new quiver of arrows for his short bow, just in case they encounter any trouble along the way. Once they're ready, Kolo and Thane set out on the road towards Oakhurst. The journey is uneventful for the most part, but they do encounter a few bandits along the way. Kolo and Thane manage to fend them off without much trouble and continue on their way. After a couple of days of travelling, they finally reach Oakhurst, a small village nestled in the foothills of a nearby mountain range. Now, I want to make this a little bit more interesting. Before you make it to the village of Oakhurst, you are stopped by five tough-looking, brutish bandits. Hand us your gold, or we'll take your life. One of the bandits barks out. Kolo glances to Thane, who already has a dagger held behind their back. I had to sneak in there. that Thane's a dagger boy, because the story might not know. Colo steps in front of the caravan and says, "We are but simple travelers. You'll find much more gold from another group. I assure you, you're wasting your time." Let's see what they say to that. The bandits sneer at Colo's words. "Don't play dumb with us. We saw you leaving the town with your treasure. Now hand it over," one of them shouts. As they step closer towards the group, Colo stands firm, his longsword drawn, and his eyes scanning the group for any signs of weakness. Thane, on the other hand, slowly moves towards the side, his dagger still hidden behind his back, ready to strike at any moment. Colo speaks up again. "I suggest you leave now before things get ugly. We don't want to have to hurt anyone." The bandits laugh, thinking that Colo and Thane are outnumbered and outmatched. But suddenly, Thane lunges forward and plunges his dagger into one of the bandits' back. The other bandits react quickly, drawing their weapons and charge towards Colo and Thane. Colo engages in combat, expertly parrying and dodging the bandits' attacks. Thane moves with agility and precision, his dagger striking true with deadly accuracy. The bandits are no match for the skilled duo, and soon they lie defeated on the ground. Colo and Thane take a moment to catch their breath, and then continue on their journey towards Oakhurst, grateful to have each other's backs in the times of danger. How flipping cool was that? As the group enter Oakhurst, Colo takes a moment to praise Thane. Wow, I didn't expect that from you. You really know your way around a weapon. Will Thane be nice in return? Thane chuckles. "I may not look like much, but I've had my share of run-ins with bandits and other unsavory characters. I always carry a few tricks up my sleeve." He gives a nod of thanks to Colo for his compliment. As they walk through the village, Colo takes notice of the various shops and stores lining the streets. "Do you think we should stock up on supplies before we head out to the forest?" he asks. What? We're going to the forest? But first, let's get our reward for escorting the caravan here. Colo replies. Thane nods in agreement. "Yes, we should go see if the caravan master has anything for us. Hopefully it'll be a decent amount of gold." Colo and Thane make their way to the caravan's master's office and knock on the door. A gruff voice calls out from inside, "Come in!" As they enter, they see a stout, grizzled dwarf sitting behind the cluttered desk. "What do you want?" he asks, barely looking up from his work. "We're the ones who escorted the caravan from Eldred," Colo says, trying to sound confident. "We were hoping to collect our reward." The dwarf grunts and reaches for a small bag of coins in his desk. He tosses it to Colo, who catches it and weighs it in his hand. It feels like a decent amount of gold. "That should be enough for your trouble," the dwarf says. "Now, if you don't mind, I have work to do." Colo and Thane nod their thanks and leave the office, the jingling of gold in Colo's pocket. Colo gives the gold to Thane to count. "Well, how much did we make?" Colo asks. Thane quickly counts the gold and responds, "We made 500 gold pieces in total, so our share is 250 gold pieces each." Wow, that's more than I thought, considering all we did was walk to a village. Not bad, Colo says with a smile. And it's still early. What do we do, Thane? Do we head back to Eldred or look for work here? Thane shrugs. "I'm up for anything. We could take a look around town and see if anyone needs any help, or we could just relax for a bit and enjoy the town's amenities. What do you feel like doing?" Kolo pauses in deep thought. You know, I just can't help but think that maybe that dwarf was transporting something valuable in that caravan. $500 gold pieces. Seems like a bit much for a simple guard duty. Thane raises an eyebrow. You think there's more to it than just a simple caravan? I mean, Durin did mention that he was transporting goods, but didn't specify what exactly. Kolo nods. Exactly. And I just have a gut feeling that it's worth more than what we were paid for. Maybe we should ask around town to see if anyone knows anything about the caravan, or what Durin was transporting. Kolo and Thane ask around town square for any information on Durin or the caravan. Let's see what we find. Oh, I love this so much because it feels like this is a pre-written story and we're just uncovering it the more we ask questions, but it's not. It's literally being made in front of our eyes. As you ask around, you learn that Durin's caravan was transporting valuable supplies for the local lord, including weapons and armour. The lord is currently in need of mercenaries to help protect his holdings from bandits and goblin raids, and he is offering a generous reward for those who can successfully complete the mission. You also learn that Durin and his team have already left Oakhurst and to head back to their home base, but you can try to catch up them if you hurry. Thane suggests that we should try to catch up with Durin for more information. And with that, the two of them hurry back out of Oakhurst to find him. As Kolo and Thane head out of Oakhurst, they scan the surrounding areas for any signs of the caravan or Durin's group. After a few hours of searching, they come across a small campsite near a riverbank. As they approach, they notice that it is Durin's group, who seem to be resting after a long journey. Durin spots them and waves them over. Kolo, Thane, what brings you out here? I thought you would be relaxing in Oakhurst after our last adventure. Durin says with a friendly smile. Kolo explains, we were curious about the large sum of gold we received for the escort mission. We thought maybe it might have something to do with the cargo in the caravan. Can you tell us more about it? Durin nods understandingly. Ah, I see. Yes, we were carrying a valuable shipment of rare gems and minerals to a wealthy merchant. We couldn't risk any theft or sabotage, hence the large payment for the escort. Thankfully, you and Thane did an excellent job in protecting the caravan. Kolo and Thane both nod in agreement. Feeling relieved that there wasn't any foul play involved, they spend the rest of the afternoon catching up with Durin and the rest of the group. We're just going to say that this is Durin, Erevan, Glim, and Arin. And we'll write into the story. As the group sit around the campfire, Kolo shares a joke with Erevan. Glad to see no goblins have gotten to you while I've been away. Let's see if the game, let's see if the story remembers that. Kolo says with a chuckle. Erevan laughs. Don't worry, Kolo. I've been keeping a close eye on Glim. He's a fierce little halfling, but he's no match for me. Glim rolls his eyes and playfully takes a sip out of his ale. Durin chimes in. So what brings you two back to our camp? Have you come to join us? Oh, we're saying literally the same thing. Kolo looks at Thane before responding. Well, we're actually wondering about the caravan we escorted to Okos. We were curious if you know anything more about it, Durin. Well, we're just getting the same information here. So we're going to say Kolo and Thane disregard the caravan. And Kolo asks the group, what do you plan on doing now? Durin looks at Kolo and Thane and says, we are actually heading towards a nearby town called Harrowdale. We've heard rumours of some strange occurrences happening there. We wanted to investigate. If you two are interested, you're more than welcome to join us. Erevan nods in agreement. Yes, it would be good to have some extra hands with us. Arin chimes in, and we could all use some extra muscle. Glim adds, plus it's good to have some company on the road. Durin looks at Kolo and Thane, waiting for their response. Thane, what do you say? What do you say? Kolo and Thane look towards one another. And with an unspoken agreement, they both know they want the same thing. Count us in. Kolo shouts, and the group all raise a drink around the campfire. Oh, we even said in the story, we said Kolo was in the tavern and he was sad that he might never see these people again, and that's when Thane stepped in and said, hey, I'm a mercenary too. And then look, we bump into the same group. It's like full circle. It's very cute. Oh my god! They're bringing the nightmare back! This is incredible! The group shares stories and plans for the next few hours, enjoying each other's company. As the night wears on, Kolo and Thane retire to their tent, feeling grateful for finding such a capable and friendly group of adventurers. As Kolo lays down to rest, he can't help but think about the nightmare that haunts him, and how this new group of friends might be able to help him uncover the truth about his past. But for now, he closes his eyes and lets himself drift off into a peaceful sleep, surrounded by the comforting presence of his new companions. It doesn't take too long after Kolo drifts off to sleep before the same nightmare recurs. Recurs, is that a word? Shows itself. An army of humans on horseback with no other motive than to destroy. Kolo's friends and family, all from his elven side, murdered, with his home destroyed. You know, I'm just gonna keep saying that happens in the nightmare, and I want the story to say, is this a memory that he's reliving in his nightmare, or is it something mysterious and his family's fine, but he keeps having this vision? This time he sees himself as a child in the burning farmland of his family. A knight in clad armor approaches him, raising his great sword. The knight swings at Kolo, defenseless. Kolo awakens with a scream. Thane, my boy! Thane wakes up immediately. Kolo, are you alright? He asks with concern. Kolo takes a few deep breaths and looks at Thane. Yeah, I'm fine. It's just the same nightmare again, he replies, trying to calm himself down. Thane places a comforting hand on Kolo's shoulder. You don't have to go through this alone. We're here for you, always, he says reassuringly. Kolo nods. Thanks, Thane. I appreciate it, he says with a small smile. Thane gestures the smile and gestures towards the others. We're all here for each other. Now get some rest. We have a big day ahead of us, he says, before settling back into his own bedroll. Kolo takes a few more deep breaths and eventually falls back to sleep, comforted by the presence of his friends. Before Kolo can get back to sleep, he lays there. He lays staring at the stars. Do you ever get judged, Thane? Kolo asks in deep thought. I sometimes feel, as a half-elf, that I will never be seen as an equal by my human or elven kin. Kolo shakes his head, realizing who he's talking to. I apologize. I sometimes forget how harsh people treat tieflings. I'm sure you've had your fair share of discrimination. Thane nods in understanding. Yes, unfortunately being a tiefling comes with its own set of challenges, but we cannot let the opinions of others define us. We have to prove ourselves through our actions and character. Thane pauses for a moment before continuing. And I do not judge you, Kolo. You have shown great courage and kindness, and those are the qualities that matter most to me. Kolo closes his eyes. Thank you, Thane. You're a good person. I'm glad to have met you. And with that, Kolo manages to fall calmly to sleep for the rest of the night. How wholesome is this? As the night passes, Kolo has no further nightmares and wakes up feeling well rested. The group packs up their camp and continues on their journey towards the mountains. Along the way, they come across a small village that seems to be in distress. The villagers are gathered around the centre of the town, whispering amongst themselves. Kolo approaches one of the villagers. Excuse me, what's going on here? The villager looks up at Kolo and says, Our village has been plagued by a group of goblins. They've been raiding our stores and stealing our food. We're running out of supplies and we don't know what to do. Kolo turns to Thane and the rest of the group. What do you all think? Should we help these villagers or take care of these goblins? We should help them. Thane says, looking towards the group for agreements. The villagers tell the group they have been dealing with goblin raids for weeks now, and that their supplies are running low. They also mention that they've tried to fight back, but the goblins seem to be getting stronger and more organised. Kolo turns to Thane and the rest of the group. We can't just stand by and watch innocent people suffer. We have to help them. Thane nods in agreement. We can take on these goblins, but we need a plan. We can't just charge in blindly. Kolo thinks for a moment. Perhaps we can gather some information first, find out where the goblins are coming from, how many there are, and what they want. The rest of the group agrees, and they set out to gather information about the goblin attacks. They talk to villagers, scout the area, and even manage to capture a goblin scout who reveals their leader, a hobgoblin named Groll, has been raiding the village for supplies. With this information, the group decides to launch a surprise attack on Groll and his goblin horde, hoping to put an end to the raids and save the village. The group head in the direction of the goblin camp. Thane carrying the captured goblin scout over his shoulder. What do you plan to do with him? Curlo asks Thane. Thane shrugs. I'm not sure yet. Maybe we can use him as a bargaining tool to negotiate with the goblins or extract some useful information from him. Curlo nods in agreement. That's a good plan. We should be careful though. He might try to escape or alert his comrades. The group reaches the edge of the goblin camp and hides behind some bushes to observe the surroundings. They see several goblins patrolling the perimeter of the camp, while others are cooking or playing games. They also notice a larger tent in the centre of the camp, which they assume to be the chief's tent. Thane whispers, "We need to come up with a plan. Any ideas?" Curlo suggests, "Maybe we can create a diversion by setting fire to some of the tents on the outskirts of the camp. While the goblins are distracted, we can sneak into the chief's tent and negotiate with him." Erevan adds, "I can use my magic to create illusions to confuse the goblins and lead them away from the chief's tent." Thane nods. "That could work. Let's get into position and start the diversion." "Oh, I love it!" Curlo tells the group. Erevan, use your illusions to confuse the goblins and lead them away from the tent. Thane, sneak into the camp. Wait, hold on. Thane and Arin, you're both rogues, right? Sneak into the camp and take out any unsuspecting goblins in the way of Groll's tent. Try to bring him out alive if you can. Durin, you stay here and keep an eye on the captured scout. I will take the high ground and watch over Thane and Arin with my bow, with my short bow. All right. I think I've given everyone a job there, so let's see if it works. The group nods in agreement and begins to execute the plan. Erevan creates illusions of loud noises and lights in the distance to distract the goblins, while Thane and Arin sneak into the camp, taking out any goblins in their way. Curlo climbs up to a nearby tree and keeps an eye on the surroundings, ready to provide cover fire with his bow if needed. After a few minutes, Thane and Arin reach Groll's tent and manage to subdue him without alerting the other goblins. They bring Groll out of the tent and start to make their way to the rest of the group. Suddenly, a group of goblins spots them and raises the alarm. Damn it, the plan didn't work! Curlo quickly takes aim with his bow and shoots down two of the goblins, while Erevan creates more illusions to confuse the rest. Thane and Arin fight off the remaining goblins and successfully bring Groll back to the group. "Good work, everyone," Curlo says as they regroup. "Let's get out of here before more goblins show up." The group quickly leaves the camp and returns to the village, where they turn over Groll to the local authorities and collect their reward. I didn't know that's what we were going to do. I thought we were going to negotiate with the goblin chief, but sure, this works as well. Curlo and the rest of the group. What's the word I'm looking for? How do you spell rendezvous? I don't want to spell it wrong. Rejoin back together. And praise each other for a job well done. There's only one more thing to take care of, Kolo says, as the group pause and turn towards the tied up goblin scout they had captured earlier. What should we do with him? Erevan asks, looking at the goblin with distaste. Dane steps forward. I say we interrogate him and find out more about the goblin raids in the area. Kolo nods in agreement. That's a good idea. We need to know more about what we're up against, but we need to be careful to not let him go or give away our position. Irene speaks up. I can try to intimidate him. Maybe he'll talk if he thinks we're going to hurt him. Durin looks uncomfortable. I'm not sure that's a good idea, but I don't want to resort to violence if we don't have to. Kolo agrees. Let's try talking to him first. Maybe we can offer something in exchange for the information. The group approaches the tied-up goblin scout and Kolo speaks in Goblin. Oh, I can speak in Goblin! We won't harm you if you tell us everything you know about the goblin raids in the area, and if you're helpful, we might even let you go. The goblin looks at Kolo with distrust, but after a moment of hesitation, begins to speak, revealing information about the goblin tribe and their leader. Once they have all the information they need, the group discusses what to do with the goblin. We can't let him go, Thane says firmly. He'll just go back to the tribe and warn them about us. Kolo nods in agreement. We'll have to take him with us or turn him over to the authorities in the next town we come across. The group agrees as they tie up the goblin scout and securely before setting off towards the nearest town. Now, Kolo turns to Durin. Are we still headed to Harrowdale? What were those strange occurrences you had heard about? See if it works. Durin nods and replies, Yes, we are still headed to Harrowdale. I've heard rumours of strange sightings and occurrences in the area. People have been reporting strange lights in the sky, missing livestock and even disappearances of some of the villagers. It's believed that some sort of dark magic is at work in the area, Durin continues. I was hoping to investigate further and see if we can put an end to it before it gets worse. I mean, okay. Sounds like a plan. How far away is Harrowdale from here? I didn't say Kolo said. I hope they understand that Kolo's saying this. Durin scratches his beard in thought before replying. It's about 3 days' journey on foot, but we can probably make it in 2 days if we move quickly and don't encounter any unexpected delays. And with that, the group, Kolo, Thane, Durin, Arin, Erevan and Glim start journeying together towards Harrow. I should capitalise it, shouldn't I? Towards Harrowdale. To investigate the strange sightings that have been rumoured to be coming from the area. I think that's it. I've really enjoyed this. I think this has been really cool. Is it going to be a YouTube thing? I don't know. Maybe. I really enjoyed it and I would like to do more of it in the future. I like the idea. See, this is why, for those that don't know, I've never played D&D and I've always wanted to. For this exact reason. For the fact that you've got to use your noggin. And it's all about how creative you can be to solve issues. The only problem with this is there are no issues to solve. If you say in the story the group was attacked by bandits, the story will then automatically say, well done, you defeated the bandits. Like, you need to create issues for yourself to solve, but I really like it. It's really cool. I will definitely try. I would love if I ever get the chance to include more people from my stream chat and get like a whole community in the story. Not just Colo and Thane. Bunch of people from the chat. I think that'd be really cool. But yeah, this has been episode 1. I don't know if we're going to have a name for this series or what. But yeah. I'll go through the stream. I'll edit it down, get rid of all the pauses and the silences and the waiting. And if it's a decent sized video, then why not? You know? Gang, thank you for watching. I've been your boy, Olive Jake. We'll catch you in the next one. And until then, stay safe. See you later.